Let's jump right in. 8 pieces of clothing once banned that everyone wears now. Number 8. Purple clothes. Imagine you just snagged a cool purple hoodie on sale and decided to wear it walking through ancient Rome. But this is the 4th century. Congrats! You just signed your own death warrant with a fashion choice that seemed totally harmless. In ancient Rome, especially under paranoid emperors like Nero, purple wasn't just a color. It was the exclusive property of the emperor. The reason for this crazy rule was the insane and expensive production process. To dye one piece of fabric, workers had to crush thousands of rotting sea snails in the sun, creating a stench so bad it could knock you out. The yield was miserably low, needing about 12,000 for just a tiny amount. You needed 12,000 snails just for a tiny bit of dye, making it way more expensive than gold. Because it was so rare, purple became the ultimate symbol of godlike power and extreme wealth. Sumptuary laws were strictly written into the legal code to control this. Only the emperor was allowed to wear this divine color. If anyone else dared to wear even a small purple ribbon, they were seen as a traitor challenging the throne. The light punishment was losing everything you owned. More often, you'd be thrown to lions or publicly executed. So, wearing that purple shirt wasn't just a fashion faux pas, it was a deadly declaration of war against the emperor. Number 7. Striped patterns. You probably have a striped shirt in your closet that you think looks cool and timeless. But if a time machine dropped you into 12th century Europe, those stripes would make you a target for hate, or worse. Back then, Europeans actually called stripes the devil's clothing. They thought stripes broke the purity of color and went against God's natural order. People were so superstitious that the church banned them, labeling stripes a sign of trickery and evil. Consequently, stripes became the mandatory uniform for social outcasts. Executioners, outcasts, jesters, and even people with leprosy had to wear them. Stripes acted as a warning label so everyone else could stay far away from them. In 1310, a shoemaker in France was actually sentenced to death just for wearing a striped outfit to work. The judges claimed his outfit was blasphemy against the social order. Next time you wear your favorite striped shirt, remember that our ancestors once saw it as a mark of a criminal. Number 6. High heels. You probably think high heels are just for women's fashion, but you'd be dead wrong. These foot torture devices were actually designed for the manliest guys in history. Persian cavalrymen. The heel wasn't about fashion. It helped them lock into their stirrups so they could fire bows without falling off. When they hit 17th century Europe, King Louis XIV, who was pretty short, turned them into a status symbol. He set some strict, unspoken rules about who could wear them. Only the elite wore tall heels to look down on the peasants stuck in mud-covered flats. If a regular worker tried to wear heels, they were seen as a fraud trying to climb the social ladder. Wearing heels was a flex that said, "I'm too rich to actually work or walk." If you broke the rules, you could get flogged, lose your stuff, or end up in jail. It got wild. In 1770s Britain, a law even proposed that women who wore heels to trap husbands should be tried as witches. Irony at its finest. Later, when women started wearing heels for power, men ditched them, calling them too feminine. Never forget that every step in high heels is basically wearing a legacy of old-school political power. These guys literally used heels to make sure no one could stand as tall as them. Number 5. Fur coats. You might have a cozy fur-lined hood or a stylish faux fur coat for winter. Appreciate that jacket, she ate. If you took it back to 14th century England under Edward III, you'd be considered a major criminal. Back then, fur wasn't just for warmth. It was a walking status symbol enforced by law. The 1337 sumptuary laws were brutally specific about it. Commoners were only allowed to wear rough sheep or goatskin. Anyone caught wearing luxury furs like mink, fox, or squirrel without the right title got stripped in public and fined into poverty. The ultimate forbidden item was ermine fur, that white fur with those signature black-tipped tails. That was strictly for royalty, representing purity and ultimate power. Wearing even a trim of ermine wasn't just a fashion faux pas, it was a full-blown treason charge. Judges argued that wearing the king's style was essentially claiming to be the king, challenging the throne itself. The punishment for that was usually hanging, drawing, and quartering as a warning to everyone. That comfy fur jacket you bought at the mall? Back then, people would have frozen to death rather than risk losing their head over it. Number 4, masks. You might think wearing a mask for Halloween or cosplay is just innocent fun. You might want to think twice if you lived in 1723 England. Parliament passed the terrifying Black Act, making masks a fast track to the gallows without a fair trial. It started because aristocrats were furious that poachers kept stealing their prized deer from royal forests. To avoid the guards, starving peasants wore black masks or smeared soot on their faces to stay hidden. Instead of fixing the hunger, the government decided to execute anyone wearing a mask. Under this brutal law, you didn't even have to actually steal anything to face the death penalty. Just being caught in the woods or a field wearing a mask was enough to get you hanged. British law considered hiding your face as automatic proof that you were planning a serious crime. The Act listed over 50 new capital crimes, but the mask clause was the scariest because it was so vague. If you just wanted to pull a prank with a mask in the woods, the law would treat you like a dangerous terrorist destined for the noose. Number 3, women's pants. Ladies wearing jeans or slacks today is a luxury that women in the past couldn't even dream of. In Paris, the fashion capital of the world, a bizarre law from 1800 laid down the rules. Any woman who wanted to dress like a man and wear pants had to get a special police permit. You even needed a doctor's note explaining why you needed them, like for horseback riding or health reasons. Without that permit, stepping out in pants meant getting arrested, paying heavy fines, and facing public humiliation. But the punishments went way beyond just fines or shame. History saw the tragic death of Joan of Arc, who was burned at the stake partly for cross-dressing. The court blindly argued that a woman in armor and pants was unnatural, blasphemous, and evil. Even in the 19th century American West, women were thrown in jail just for wearing pants to do manual labor. It took centuries of fighting for pants to stop being a men-only item and to overturn that Paris law. That law was only officially taken off the books in 2013. It's honestly mind-blowing. Number 2, buttons. Look down at your shirt or jeans right now. Those little buttons seem totally boring, right? But if you wore a buttoned shirt in 13th century Europe, priests would call them traps of the devil. For thousands of years, people wore loose, bag-like clothes tied with strings to hide their bodies. Then, buttons caused a massive fashion scandal. They allowed clothes to fit snugly, showing off curves and muscles. The church totally freaked out over it. They saw buttons as lewd tools that promoted sin for 2 main reasons. 1, it made people look too sexy, and 2, it made getting undressed way too easy. In parts of Germany and Italy, laws strictly limited how many buttons you could have based on your rank. If you were a commoner rocking too many buttons or fancy gold ones, you'd face heavy fines and public shaming. Tailors who made those tight buttoned-up clothes were even threatened with excommunication. That tiny button you use without thinking today was once a moral crisis that threatened the virtue of an entire generation. Number 1, gold jewelry. Gold rings and necklaces are just accessories anyone with cash can buy today. But if you were a wealthy merchant in Edo period Japan, wearing gold was social suicide. Under Japan's strict class system, merchants held the wealth but were bottom-tier outcasts seen as useless parasites. To keep things orderly, the Tokugawa shogunate banned merchants from wearing gold, silver, or flashy jewelry. That bling was reserved strictly for the samurai and the elite. If a merchant was caught wearing gold, they'd get their stuff seized, get flogged, and be shamed for acting above their station. But this just birthed a sneaky underground trend called aiki, or quiet luxury. Since they couldn't wear gold openly, they crafted secret accessories hidden inside their kimono folds or tobacco pipes. They'd use expensive wood boxes that were only inlaid with gold on the inside. They loved the thrill of hiding a fortune on their body while looking totally plain to fool the guards. Your gold jewelry today was once the center of a class war where people hid wealth like a crime. Looking back, it's wild that what you wear today once cost people their honor, their freedom, or even their lives. Fashion has never just been about looking good. It used to be all about laws, power, and life or death lines. If you realized history is crazier than you thought, smash that like button, subscribe, and comment which item you're wearing today that would have been a total death sentence back then. See you guys in the next one.